Well, as Phyllis and Mary represent, 6 million women went to work as Rosies during World War II. And you might think, well, that then was then. Things are better now. Well, now we have a modern day Rosie story. And I'm welcoming someone who I have had the great pleasure of being on a number of panels with. Her story is shocking, truly shocking, that this is going on today. Please welcome marriage and family counselor and therapist, Laura Mui.
Hello, I'm Laura Mui, and I'm Chinese American, a mother to an incredible young person over there, a partner, a sister, spouse, daughter, therapist, teacher, friend, colleague, and a human being. Before I say a few words about my personal experience with wage discrimination, I'd like to express my sadness and pain for Michael Brown, his family, the Ferguson community, and for our entire nation. I believe the system that allows anyone, the police included, to kill our young people, especially our young people of color, without due justice, is the very same system of inequality that turns their cheek to the unequal treatment and violence towards women. As I am both a woman and a person of color, I have many experiences with discrimination by both individuals and by our system of policies and laws that value white people, especially white men, over people of color and women, but I only have time to share one. So I'd like to take a moment to thank Jackie Spear for allowing me this opportunity and for all of you to share in this monumental day today. I also want to thank my family, my friends, and their never-ending love and support. I was born and raised in America, I just came back from San Francisco, so not right over the bridge, but right over the peninsula in Oakland, and I was taught that all men are created equal, naively thinking that men is synonymous with human. And I knew from first-hand experiences and witnessing with the women in my life on TV, books, and in history class that we also live in an uneven playing field of a white male-dominated society. So I worked hard, and I continue to really work hard, pulling all-nighters for exams and papers while working 2 to 3 jobs at a time to be able to afford and attend prestigious universities. You know, I was pulling myself up from my bootstraps. All that pulling and hard work got me a BA from UC Berkeley and a master's from Columbia University. Again, I naively thought my degrees would help level out the playing field. And while wage discrimination based on gender, and let's face it, race and ethnicity too, is often very difficult for women and people of color to prove, I was in a unique position to find out. The person who was earning more than me for doing the exact same job was my then partner and now husband. You see, we met 9 years ago as graduate students at Columbia. We graduated together with the exact same degree. 2 years later, when we became employed by the same agency for the exact same position, we were dumbfounded by the difference in our salary offers. At his very first job within the field of mental health, straight out of grad school, he was offered $41,000 a year, while I was offered $35,000. We were shocked because we both expected that I would actually earn more than him for several straightforward reasons. Prior to grad school, I worked in the field of mental health for 5 years. I had outstanding references, and I had a credential, all of which substantially beefed up my resume. And yet, my starting salary offer was more than $5,000 less. The only reasons that we could possibly think of to account for this difference were 2 other straightforward reasons. I am female and Chinese. My husband is white and male. While working in the field of mental health as a psychotherapist, I thought this would be the one profession that would not allow this kind of injustice. Because as clinicians and educators, we see and hear the impact of discrimination and systemic isms on people, on their psychological, physical, social, emotional, and spiritual well-being. The accumulation of these injustices over a lifetime have a traumatic effect, leading to chronic stress and symptoms of depression, anxiety, rage, chronic pain, low self-esteem, drug use, high blood pressure. I could go on. So when it happened to me so blatantly with the very profession that seeks to mitigate its impact, I also began to acutely experience low self-esteem, rage, anxiety, depression, and self-doubt. I felt demeaned, disrespected, devalued, less than a man, and by extension, less than human. It also affected my relationship with my husband. I'm so glad you brought that up, Phyllis. At times it was difficult to be around him, knowing that I worked every bit as hard, had more experience, better credentials, him often asking me for help, yet I was the one earning less. And my husband struggled as well. Although he did not doubt that the gap in our wages was gender and race-based, he was faced with the hard and painful task of looking at the ways he has unfairly benefited from our system, questioned the merit of his achievements, and the ways he unconsciously devalues and disrespects women and people of color. I am blessed and lucky to be with a white man who is doing this internal work, the kind of work that can actually change the system. We attempted to fix and give the agency the benefit of the doubt by asking them why there was such a remarkable difference in our pay. However, we were given the runaround. Emails, phone calls, and letters were left unanswered, except for one response. And that was, I didn't have to take the job at all. In short, accept the pay or we'll give the job to someone else who will. In other words, accept that I am worth less. That sounds a lot like worthless, doesn't it? In the end, like so many other women and their families, we had to accept the situation. We were in a recession at the time, and I was lucky to even have a job. In the 2 years I was there, I made over $10,000 less than my husband, which equates to more than $400 a month, which could have gone to childcare, rent, groceries, bills, maybe even a down payment on a car. That disparity in pay impacted not only my income at the time, but future earnings at other organizations, my Social Security benefits, and even more importantly, my feelings of self-worth. But my story is just one of many. Millions of women across this country are getting paid less than their male coworkers, but have no idea because of secrecy surrounding employee salaries in most workplaces. So my heart is heavy today, and I don't believe that I'm here just to be living proof that wage discrimination, just one of thousands of expressions of systemic inequality, exists. Because I stand here today after telling my experience with unequal pay, just because I'm a woman. There are young black men and people of color who are not only being stripped of their equal rights to equal pay, they are being over-policed, undervalued, underprotected, and killed. We are being viewed and treated as if we are worthless. I have struggled with the psychological damage of not being paid my worth. I also am struggling with knowing that I am alive here today to even tell my story. And perhaps like many of you, an important question burns my soul. How many stories, how many lives, just what is it going to take for America to dismantle the structures and systems that excuse the gender wage gap and allow for yet another young black man, one of our own children, to be killed without justice? And for those reasons, I am using this honor and privilege to be with you all to demand equal pay for equal work, equal treatment and valuing of people of color, especially our children, because not only does America succeed when women succeed, America can only be free when all our people are free. Threats in one area of our rights as human beings threatens all our rights as human beings. So I heard that this was a call for action. So I ask, let us all get in touch with our shared humanity and stand as women, as mothers, as fathers, parents, sisters, brothers, sons, daughters, grandparents, as human beings with our differences, to extend our understanding and compassion to the people in Ferguson and to ask our public officials to stop criminalizing these behaviors, stop pointing guns at people who are clearly suffering. Turn the military tanks around. We are not the enemy. And let us instead take the next crucial steps towards true equality and get on with the healing of our shared traumatic history and traumatic present by taking responsibility for our actions against one another. Repair our relationship and wounds to forgive ourselves and one another so that we can build a more just, a more trusting, mutually respecting, and safer nation for us all. Let us work together toward making equality for everyone, every day. And I believe the Equal Rights Amendment is one step towards that.